Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Sam Tom here. My voice still hasn't recovered from my 2 gigs nearly back to back, so I apologize for my voice. I'm not sick. I'm not trying to be weird or strangely soothing. This is what I'm working with right now. Today we're talking about Paranormal Activity from 2009, but I don't have many notes on this because, let's face it, not much happens in the movie. So what I want to do before I get into my notes is I want to do a little pop quiz here. If you've watched some of my videos, you should have a pretty good idea of what things I like, what things I don't like, what things scare me, what things don't scare me, whether or not the fact that I'm scared plays into whether or not I like something. So let me give you the setup here. This movie came out in 2009. I would have been in college. And throughout high school and into college, I got more into horror. As I've said in many other videos, I was kind of introduced to a lot of it from my older sister, perhaps some of it from my older brother, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So a lot of what I watched in middle school and high school was the kind of stuff that my sister was into, right? And then as I get more into it, I got more interested in some of the classics, or what I considered the classics, like Halloween and things like that. But I had never had what felt like my my horror franchise, right? And I talked about with Saw how that's my favorite horror franchise, and I really got into it in college. But I don't remember exactly where I was on the timeline. But by the time I got into it, it had already started. I wasn't ready for it, the first movie. So here's the setup for Paranormal Activity. I'm in college. I'm into horror. I'm buying a bunch of franchises so that I can do horror marathons. I'm getting more into Saw as one of my favorite franchises. My private instructor, my lesson instructor, who I've mentioned before, is also a big fan of horror. So he's aware of upcoming projects, and we start hearing about Paranormal Activity. And the hype is real. The word of mouth is strong. This is the scariest movie ever. I remember the trailers for this film weren't even trailers. They were footage of audiences reacting to the movie. Supposedly. I don't even know if they were real or not, but that's what the marketing was look at how scared people that are watching this movie are. So very, very much this film was marketed as, this is going to terrify you. This is going to be super scary. This is going to be the scariest thing you've ever seen. So with that setup, I want you guys to try to figure out which thing happened. Option 1, this movie was not scary to me. It was disappointing. It was a letdown. It did not meet my expectations, and therefore, I did not become a fan of the franchise. Or, option 2, this movie did scare me. It lived up to the hype. It lived up to the word of mouth. It met my expectations. But it was, in fact, so scary to me that even though I enjoyed it, I couldn't fully get into the franchise as it progressed like I did with the Saw movies. Those are your 2 options, okay? Because I can tell you, I'm not super big into these movies. I have not, watched the series multiple times like I have with the Saw franchise. So you try to tell me why. Is it because it was a letdown, or because I was too scared of it? Pause the video, go down to the comments, let me know which one you pick. I'm going to reveal the answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I, in fact, am a pretty big fan of this franchise. I've seen the first 4. I own the first 5. fifth one kind of snuck out on me, and I just saw it at the store and picked it up, but I've never watched it. And there are 7, I believe now, which I didn't even realize. So like they're still kind of flying under my radar. But I'm a big fan of these movies. But they terrify me. So I can't get into them as much as I would like to. So option B, option 2 is the correct option there. This film terrified me when I saw it in theaters. And as I said, not much happens, right? And that's the big criticism that I heard from my other friends. Oh, it wasn't that scary, nothing even happened, blah, blah, blah. But like, that's why it's scary, right? Because like, again, one of my notes is, my first note, in fact, is Blair Witch 2.0. Right, we've got found footage, we've got this mockumentary style thing, it's presented as a real thing that happened. There's no opening credits or anything, it just has some information about the supposedly real characters. I'm pretty sure I knew going in that it wasn't real, right? Because it was marketed as a horror movie. But that's how it presents itself in the movie, is as if it really happened. But if a bunch of crazy things were happening throughout the movie, it would have seemed less realistic, right? And man, this movie terrifies me so much because I so believe that I could experience what the characters in this movie experience. When I first saw this movie, again, in college, I had a roommate, but I'm still pretty sure I slept with the light on. Actually, no. This came out in 2009. And that year, I did not have a roommate. I only had a roommate my freshman year of college. The other 3 years, I got my own room because I was an RA. So I did not have a roommate at this time. I guess I don't know what part of 2009. If it was early 2009, I had it. Hold on. Okay, September 2009, which makes sense because that's right before Halloween season. So I would have had my own room. Because this is why I'm trying to figure this out, because I know that I slept with the light on for like a week after seeing this movie. And so I was like, did my roommate just let me do that? No, it's because I didn't have a roommate. But like still, in college, you got people all over the place. You got the lights in the hallway constantly on. It's never dead. There's always somebody around. You got plenty of people around. You got security around. You're not in the middle of nowhere. So like, that's the best place to be, right? If you're scared, right? What you don't want to be is out in the country with nobody around, nobody else in the house, none of the lights are turning on, right? That's the best. So I'm in the perfect situation for this, and I'm still terrified. I'm still sleeping with the lights on. And I'll tell you this. Oh my gosh, the town siren just went off. Our siren goes off every Sunday at 6. Is it 6 o'clock right now? It's 5:44. Okay. I'm freaking out. And like right before I started recording this, my dog started growling. Because I just finished this. And my dog started growling. My dog very rarely growls. She barks a lot. She doesn't growl very often. So I'm getting into it. And I'll tell you, this is what I was going to say before the siren went off. Just in anticipation of knowing that I was going to watch this again, I had nightmares last night. I've watched all these horror movies leading up to this. And like, I thought about not including this because I did not want to watch it again. But the way I've structured October is that this part of this week is dealing with my evolution as a horror fan and horror movies that made an impact on me. And as I said at the beginning of this video, this was supposed to be like my franchise, right? Like the one that I was going to be all in on from the beginning, follow it, like Saw, but from the start. And I just couldn't stick with it because it terrifies me so much. So last night, I had a nightmare. And I've never had something like this before, as far as I can remember. my nightmare was that I was trying to sleep, but I couldn't sleep because I kept looking down my hallway, unsure of if something was there or not. Like that quote from the Blair Witch Project, too scared to close my eyes, too scared to open my eyes, right? But I know that that was a dream because in real life, I can't see down my hallway from my bed. So I'm having dreams where I'm scared to fall asleep. Just because I knew I hadn't even rewatched it yet. Just because I knew I was going to have to rewatch it. So I'm very concerned about my sleep this week. I will say the biggest thing that got me, and again, I say this all the time, so maybe you knew this is where this is going. It ends with the facial distortion, the demonic face. And that was the biggest thing that terrified me the first time I saw it, and I did not watch that part this time. I did my thing. I even closed my eyes, and I just listened to it so that I finished it, and then I turned it off. So I hope I'll be okay. But as I said, I saw the first 4 in theaters because I really like these movies and I wanted to stick with them, but I can't rewatch them. And now I want to rewatch them because I'm like, I forget like what the narrative is, and I know there's prequels and it goes back and forth, and I was reading some summaries about the other sequels that I didn't learn about, and like it's all part of one mythology, and it's like I want to watch them, but I know I won't be able to sleep, so I gotta like take a day where I don't have anything to do the next day because I gotta work tomorrow. So I gotta find some day where I can lose a little bit of sleep and it won't be okay, and get somebody else here in my house with me. Cause I live by myself and I got neighbors pretty close by, but like right across the street that direction is the woods, so I'm right on the edge of town. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll get to the rest of the series or not. There's apparently a new one coming out next year. So I'd really like to like rewatch all of the ones that I've seen before and catch up on all the ones that I've missed before the new one comes out. I don't know though. I don't know if I can handle it. And like again, I know that so many people say that these are dumb and stupid and not scary because nothing happens, but it's just different people are scared by different things, and this is just exactly the right kind of thing to terrify me. So I've avoided talking about it for 13 minutes, talking about my notes anyway. So let me get into it. Blair Witch 2.0, already talked about that. The early on in the movie, they're really justifying why he has this camera, and it's similar to what I was saying with the opening of Final Destination, where it's like, you're trying too hard. Just say one line and move on. It'll be okay. And like, I've been that guy, right? That has a camcorder, so you record everything. You film everything. Stuff that no one's ever going to see. Stuff that you're never going to watch again. Stuff that is not even interesting in the moment, right? There are different parts where she's like, why are you filming me right now? And it's just like, some people are just like that. And I'm one of those people. I have so many things that I remember, not even because of watching the footage, but just because of the fact that I recorded it. And I was so aware in the moment of what I was recording that it sticks in my head even without the recording. And then there are other things that I remember the recordings of. And I did a whole bunch of stupid crap, silly nonsense in college with my friends that I recorded just because I had a camera. And I have rewatched quite a bit of it post-college. And so, like, you don't need to try that hard to explain it, right? So weird stuff is going on. He got this camera to document it, and now because he's got the camera, he just kind of films stuff. You can just leave it at that. At one point, Mika is, like, questioning what the demon's plan is, which is never really explained in this movie. Perhaps it is more so, because I know that really becomes the focus of the later sequels, is this demon. And Katie's in a lot of the sequels, and even the one she's not in, she's mentioned, or her family is in, or whatever. Or she's in as a child. So I assume more stuff, but it's like, it's a demon, right? They say in this movie that their whole thing is just to mess with people because they're evil. So I don't think he needs a plan. It's just kind of weird that they bring that up because it's not like he wants anything specific. Get a Ouija board in this, and a Ouija board is one of those things, right? And like the Bloody Mary stuff is another one. The Candyman stuff, like where you stand in front of the mirror and you say it 3 times. And the Ouija board, these are just some of these things that, like, when you ask me logically and with intellect, right, and with thought, do I think that stuff really does what the thing, what people say? Do I think Ouija boards are evil, right? Obviously, no. That's nonsense, right? But that said, I will never buy one. I will never use one, and I will never allow one in my house. I will never do the Bloody Mary thing. I will never do the Candyman thing. Even though I don't believe in it, I'm not willing to tempt fate. I'm not willing to tempt whatever potential malevolent entities may or may not be out there. So even though I don't truly believe, I believe enough in the idea around it that I'm just not going to mess with it. I'm just going to leave it out. So the Ouija, like, I've never watched the movie Ouija. Because I assume it will scare the crap out of me. But when they bring it in this movie and they're debating about it, I'm just like, nope, not in my house, no way, no how. Then I just wrote slow build because, again, this was a criticism that I heard from a lot of people is that it's boring, but, like, that's the point, right? And, like, even though I've seen this multiple times and even though I knew I'd be scared, I was so engaged with the nothing that was happening, right? Because it's just about those little tiny things. We all have weird noises in our house, right? And man, certainly with smart lights that I have all over my house, sometimes they just kind of turn themselves on or off. Sometimes the Google will beep as if you've been talking to it when you weren't talking to it. Even when nothing in the house is making a sound, sometimes it'll just beep. And it's those little tiny things that happen in real life that makes this so believable as a movie. If more intense stuff happened, like in Poltergeist, then it would just be a movie, and then I wouldn't get as scared. Because it'd be like, well, I've never had chairs slide across the kitchen floor, right? They've never stacked themselves on top of the table. So it's easier to distance myself away. That because so much of this, especially at the start, is just indistinct noises and lights and feelings. That's way scarier to me. Why not turn on the lights? So I think this is one of the first nights where the camera's been running, they hear stuff, they get up to investigate, but they don't turn the lights on in the house. They're just using the light on the camera. And I was trying to figure out if it's like, is that just a thing because it kept the budget cheaper? Because the budget for this movie was like $15,000. One of the most profitable films ever, along with Blair Witch Project and Saw. But I don't know. I feel like it's not that expensive to just turn on the lights. Maybe it was done to pull you into the moment more, but I'm like, in the moment, I would have turned on every light in the house. And they're like, there was no jump scare or anything that happened during that scene, so I really don't know why they did it that way. Later on, as things get worse, they do start turning on the lights, so that just kind of pulled me out a little bit, because I was just trying to figure out why they did it, and I don't know. Then I wrote, this guy's got Monty Python jokes. I don't even remember the joke that he makes, but he makes the Monty Python and the Holy Grail joke. Always good by me. Then we get the dinosaur tracks. And again, this was a thing that I heard a lot of people complain about when the movie came out. Why does it have dinosaur feet? That's so dumb. That's so stupid. That's so silly. I, what kind of feet is it supposed to have? Not regular human feet, right? They go to great lengths to tell you that this is not and has never been a person. So like weird claw feet, I don't know. It makes as much sense to me as anything else. Maybe they shouldn't have done any footprints at all, or maybe it just should have just been dragged through the powder, right, and just had streaks rather than distinct footprints. I don't know. It didn't bother me. I know it's bothered other people. And then my last note is just that this movie has 5 characters. I believe. I think Katie has 2 different friends over. It might be the same friend twice, but on the cast list there's 5 people. So there's Katie, Mika, the doctor, and I assume 2 of Katie's friends. 5 actors, and it's all in one location. It's all in one house, and it's all actually one house. It's not different sets and different locations that are supposed to be one house. And that's just rare to watch, right? But I mean, obviously they did it because of budgetary necessities. But again, for me, it just works so well to suck me into the movie and to terrify me. So I very much think this is a great horror movie because I think it does so many things well, and because it's also genuinely terrifying to me. To a frustrating degree because I don't want to watch the sequels. I want to watch the sequels, but I don't want to put myself through that. So, do you guys have a movie like that? A movie that you enjoy, you think is good, you think is well done, but it's too scary for you to watch? Let me know. Let me know what that is. But this is the one for me. And I think, like, this is where I kind of fell off of trying to get into new horror franchises because, like, from my cultural awareness, big horror franchises that have come after this are things like Insidious, which is demon stuff, which scares me, and The Conjuring, which is demon stuff, which scares me. And so, like, the things that actually seem like they're going to be scary, I'm like, well, I don't want to watch that then, because I'm not going to be able to sleep. But then you have other things like, oh my gosh, something just made a noise in my kitchen. Then you have things like A Quiet Place, which I don't find scary, and the premise doesn't make sense to me, the execution doesn't make sense to me, and I don't like it, and I don't enjoy it. So I'm kind of in this dead space where things that are actually scary, I don't want to watch because I'm too scared. The things that aren't actually scary, I just pick apart, and so I don't enjoy. I guess there are things like Escape Room I quite liked. The first Don't Breathe movie I quite liked, although the second one I wasn't as much of a fan of. So there are a few newer horror things. Malignant was okay. It was more interesting than anything else. So there have been a few newer things that I liked. But yeah, I don't know that I'm ever gonna get as hyped for a new entry, not entry, a new first film than I was for this, because I was so excited for it. I was so ready for it. I was there opening night with a bunch of my college friends, and then I couldn't sleep for a week. So those are my thoughts and my life experience with Paranormal Activity. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you disagree with me and you think that it's dumb and you think that nothing happens and why you're confused about what I'm scared about. That's okay. I can take it. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Don't use Ouija boards.